Good day, everyone. To start us off today, we're going to visit this house, or if I remember correctly, this guy here is going to give me the super rod at long last. Yeah, I would say it's become a tradition to hand you the super rod in the post-game. They did this in Diamond, Pearl, Platinum, then they did it in Gold, Silver, Crystal in the first place, they did it in Hard Gold and Soul Silver, and once again in Black and White, though I guess that since there were no old and good rods in Black and White, well, this was purely a post-game thing, you know, the whole fishing thing. What the hell?! Okay, what was that? Did my game just screw up there? I think not. I think that was actually what she was supposed to say, but still, I sort of freaked out for a second there. Sorry about that. Anyway, what I wanted to talk about today, as you probably have heard, the Rugged Mountain is now live, and I guess it's a good thing that they didn't call it Mount Rugged, otherwise everyone would be all like, oh my god, Mario reference, and so on and so forth. So, yeah, just random thought here. We already knew about stuff like Water-Absorbed Cacturne, Unnerve Tyranitar coming out of this, and before I move on to the rest, I've already mentioned, Unnerve Tyranitar before, but something that I feel like adding to that, because I guess I didn't think of it last time I talked about it, and yeah, apparently she's just, mimicking birds or whatever, but, yeah, the thing about Unnerve Tyranitar is that, I've been thinking about it, and you know how in suspect tests, Sandstream always gets, overwhelmingly low percentages. I'm talking about stuff like 12-15% here, which just makes no sense considering how threatening it is. But then it occurred to me that people might not want to get rid of Sandstream for the simple reason that Tyranitar is such a key Pokemon to the metagame for what it brings to the table other than the Sandstorm. So I was sort of thinking, we gotta keep an eye on how it's gonna turn out in the next round of suspect voting, because if Sandstream suddenly catapults up in terms of percentage, then I'm thinking that this might have to do with the fact that Unnerved Tyranitar is now legitimately attainable. And as such, even if Sandstream were to go away, Tyranitar could continue playing that role that I was talking about earlier. So this is definitely an interesting contribution from the Rugged Mountain, should we ever lose Sandstream. And we also got a bunch of other Pokemon that weren't listed the other day. We got two other pseudo-legendaries. We got Bagon, and we also got Beldum. So now the only pseudo-legendaries that aren't in the Dream World are Gible and, of course, Dino. But, yeah, for these other Pokemon, well, let's start with Salamence, shall we? Because now this means... This guy here, saying electricity is the most important thing in our daily lives. This coming from the guy who had 3 Gyarados. Wonder if he used them as lightning rods or something. Either way, I think, maybe this was a typical Game Freak humor or something. Okay, so we need to cut this, and I don't have my ferret on me. I guess I'm gonna redo this path once I've beaten all the trainers with my HM slaves, in case there are any items like this that need HMs to get to. But I'm not going to do that right now. But anyway, as I was about to say, well, let's begin with Salamence, because now it has access to Moxie. However, there is one little drawback. You cannot have Roost on Moxie Salamence, since it's a Generation 4 TM that didn't come back this generation. It did get Outrage, however. There's a chance if you get a Bagon in the Dream World that it will have Outrage. This is actually what I picked up this morning from the Dream World, an Outrage, it's Sheer Force Bagon, I think, but it evolves into Moxie Salamence. And there have been a few people, that are sort of scared of seeing Moxie Salamence because Moxie is one of those abilities that sounds amazing. Whenever you kill something, you get an attack boost. But to be honest, I don't have expectations that are very high for Moxie Salamence. The reason for this is because there is another Pokemon with a huge quadruple weakness that just so happens to have Intimidate and Moxie as well, and I'm talking about Gyarados. But, Intimidate is still overwhelmingly favored on Gyarados as far as I can tell. Moxie is cool as novelty, but if you want to get that first kill in the first place, Intimidate is going to be maybe far too valuable to pass up. That, and there's the fact that after you get your attack boost, you can still be forced out because the opponent is going to send in something that can kill your Gyarados pretty easily. So, yeah, this might be sort of the same thing we're dealing with Salamence. So, yeah, of course, I'm not arguing that the exact same thing is going to happen. They are two very different Pokemon after all, but if Gyarados is anything to go by, then Salamence probably won't be challenging Dragonite's throne anytime soon, especially without Roost. I don't think I should make such a big deal out of it missing Roost, because it's not like Salamence has a shortage of options anyway. It's just that if you really want to use Roost, then you're stuck with Intimidate, which is not a bad thing because Intimidate's already an amazing ability to begin with. And speaking of missing moves, maybe I should come back to Tyranitar, because Unnerve Tyranitar has got quite a few of them, like Aqua Tail, the Elemental Punches. They did give it Stealth Rock as a special move in the Dream World, however, so if you want Stealth Rock on an Unnerved Tyranitar, there you go, it's an option. Nonetheless, I don't think Tyranitar is going to be hurting too badly from not having Aqua Tail or the Elemental Punches, because it's not like Tyranitar has a shortage of options anyway. Just look at that move pool! Even taking away those Generation 4 exclusive moves and re-adding in Stealth Rock, obviously, that's still a lot of moves that the Tyranitar can use. That's just amazing. So, yeah, I don't think those who really want to use Unnerved Tyranitar are going to be hurting too badly. Other than that, while we're talking about pseudo-legendaries, Light Metal Metagross, not very interesting. Pass. I mean, it's not like Clear Body is particularly useful anyway, though it gives you immunity to Intimidate, which is nice. But Light Metal, I guess if you're afraid of Low Kick or Grass Knot or something, which Metagross really should not, to be perfectly honest with you. So yeah, Light Metal Metagross, I think I'm just gonna pass. Other than that, we got Sheer Force Hariyama now. Only problem, Elemental Punches, once again, are missing. So this means the main incentive you have to run Sheer Force over Guts or Thick Fat is essentially gone, because Hariyama, I don't think, has many moves that actually can make use of Sheer Force. Does it have Rock Slide? I think it does. But one move is just nowhere near good enough to justify using Sheer Force over Thick Fat and Guts, which are both great abilities, of course. So, yeah, still in the fighting type department, Tyrogue is now available, which means that Unburdened Hitmonlee is now an option, I guess, if you want to use a fighting gem with high jump kick and then take advantage of the gem's consumption to trigger Unburden. This could actually be fairly interesting. Not good enough for overused use, obviously, but still, it's an option that it didn't have before. And, by the way, nowadays this is the main way to trigger Unburden is those type boosting gems that you can get on bridges, such as the Driftveil Drawbridge and stuff like that. And but for the other Hitmons, I'll pass. I think Hitmonchan's new ability is Inner Focus, which is just it sucks compared to even Iron Fist. So I'll pass. And for Hitmontop, I don't even remember off the top of my head what its Dream World ability is, which just goes to show that, you know, it's that useless. Because it has to compete with Intimidate and Technician, and Hitmontop is one of the best users of a Technician out there, which puts it, well, I wouldn't say very close to overused, but it's something that a lot of people tend to underestimate a lot. They see, Hitmontop, it sucks, and then they proceed to lose a few Pokemon to it, and that's what tends to happen whenever Hitmontop gets discussed with something, with someone. Sorry, you guys are not things. I just want to make that perfectly clear. But I see many people, you know, selling Hitmontop way short. They're able to do so much more than what it's given credit for. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say this guy has 6 Pikachus on his team, which... this reminds me, remember that trainer with 3 Magikarps that we fought right after the one with 3 Gyarados? Well, the trainer with the 3 Magikarps, which were like at absurdly low levels, he gave us his phone number, and whenever you rematch him, he's gonna have 1 more Magikarp each time, so this guy over there was our mandatory 6 Magikarp dude, but it's only from the 4th rematch onwards, so just so you know, if you ever want to see what a 6 Magikarp trainer looks like from the perspective of Heart Gold and Soul Silver, well, there you go. This guy is your man. But then back to the Rugged Mountain, since I wasn't done with it quite yet. We got Sandvale Donphan now, but there's just one problem. Stealth Rock isn't legal with it, so if you absolutely want to use Stealth Rock on your Donphan, you're stuck with Sturdy. It's sort of a shame because Donphan's been crying out for useful ability for so long, and now that it has one, it can't use the very important Stealth Rock with it. Of course, you can build a Donphan without Stealth Rock. There are several sets that don't require it, but still, it's sort of a setback if you want to use Sandvale. And I guess that's sort of it for the Rugged Mountain. I think I covered all the important things. There are a few Pokemon that have been added to the Sparkling Sea, however. They didn't really make that clear that they were going to add a few Pokemon there, but yes, Seal, Chinchou, and Shelder are now available down there. Unfortunately, all 3 of these Pokemon have other abilities that are their bread and butter. We're talking about Volt Absorb for Lantern, a Skill Link for Cloyster, and Hydration for Dugong. So this is not a very notable addition. Those options are there if you want them, but I don't see why you would, because those abilities are like, the ones that it already had before, I mean. Those abilities were the only ones that justified using those Pokemon in the first place. So, yeah, I think I'll pass for those new rookies in the Sparkling Sea. So yeah, basically a few new toys to play with, but with not nearly as much of an impact as the Spooky Manor. Though, do keep an eye out for Moxie Salamence, and did I just see a level 65 Magikarp? Yeah! It's a level 65 Magikarp! And this is something that this game is known for in Kanto, you know, having really weak Pokemon at really high levels. There are some more of these in the Viridian Forest, for example. And I don't think I have enough time to fight another trainer, so if you don't mind, I'm gonna stop right here. So, see you later!